Welcome to the Notorious Scoundrels, a Star Wars Legion podcast bringing you the latest news, general perspective, and competitive discussion.
Hello and welcome back to the Notorious Scoundrels podcast. I'm Kyle. I'm here with Mike and Jay.
Did you forget who you were?
I can't pause for dramatic effect.
I'm Kyle.
In fairness, he did say he was like, "I'm Kyle."
Yeah.
I feel like there was not that big of a pause.
All right. Maybe it's just me.
I think William Shatner
Colin
would like to have a conversation with you, Jay, about dramatic pauses.
I'm sorry, but if we're talking about good acting, William Shatner does not fit the bill.
He didn't say good.
Neither does this podcast.
Oof.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I'm acting interested right now.
You are currently co-located, not on the same screen as you have been before with co-located, but you are in the same under the same roof.
Yeah, as a little teaser for some of our folks that are playing Stormtide, the reason we're not doing our normal location, that's my Legion gaming table in my office, that is currently being taken up by a Stormtide playtest. So
which is directly behind me, and I'm not turning this screensaver off.
So we couldn't set up there, but if you're watching on YouTube, I'm actually out in the manufacturing floor of the 5th Troopers, so you guys can take a look at that and see our printers and laser cutter and boxes and all kinds of stuff behind me. Mike came and I don't know, kicked me out of my own office somehow. It's weird, but here I am out in the manufacturing floor, and Mike's in my nice cozy office. So
it's nice and warm in here. Ooh, cozy.
Is it cold this time of year in Syracuse?
It's probably. I'm sorry.
For you or for me?
Yeah, Kyle. It is roughly 60 degrees out.
Whoa, it's 75 today, buddy. You just didn't go out enough.
No. It is 60 degrees out right now.
Oh, right now.
Just to be clear.
Yeah.
That's very comfortable. That's like San Diego.
Okay,
maybe a little colder than San Diego.
I don't know. 60 is unacceptable to me. So.
Wow. Well,
it's a good thing you moved away from Syracuse down to DC.
Yeah, about
that. You're in for some real pain.
Yeah, it is.
DC gets in the 30s in the winter.
Yeah, but
wow,
it doesn't get into zeros like it
zero. Be fair, with -20.
I know. I remember
that is objectively cold. Doesn't matter where you're from.
Yeah, it's freezing.
No, but we're so Mike's up, and for anyone who's interested, we're working on Stormtide stuff, and really excited about that. And that's why we're mixing it up today a little bit.
I mean, it's not just today. We're gonna be co-located for the next 3 weeks, because I'm not leaving for 4 weeks.
Yeah, we didn't really discuss that. Mike was just like, "Hey, I'm coming up.
Yep.
I'll be there tomorrow at 9 a.m." And I was like, all right. He's like, you got space for my computer? It's like, yeah, bud.
Success.
That's how we run the show over here, I guess.
It is a little bit, right?
Yeah. Meanwhile, Rachel's like, when is he leaving?
She's like, how long is he staying? I go, I don't know. 3-4 weeks, maybe forever. It's
forever. I told
her
forever today. I was like, I'm not leaving.
I don't know. He wants me to build him an in-law apartment in the backyard. There's some weird stuff going on.
Nah, you live too far away from everything.
That is, well, I like it.
I know you do.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have some stuff to talk about today. We have some more kind of drip teasers for the points update /RRG. No actual points update /RRG. That is apparently going to be by sometime before Thanksgiving.
Yeah, we'll talk about that whole shtick.
Yeah, we'll hit that
in just a little bit.
Yeah, let's do housekeeping first.
Housekeeping.
All right, yeah. So housekeeping. Something really cool. This actually the Stormtide community has known about this, but for those of you who maybe aren't interested in Stormtide, we are selling minis now. So we actually have minis. They're available on the fifthtrooper.com website, and they're also available on the Stormtide website. These are minis inspired by and designed for the Stormtide campaign, but can be used for really any game, whether it's Legion or like any space opera RPG you may be playing, or where you want to get minis on the table. We've got right now we have 8 different minis that are available on the fifthtrooper.com, and we're hopefully going to be adding to that over the next few months, and so you can purchase them now, and we'll send them to you in a nice little pack, and yeah, it'll be great. So those are available now. Really excited about that. We teamed up with Skullforge, and so Jordan, actually there's this set of 6 that's up now, we call the Scientists, and they were actually, there's 3 artists that actually worked on those. So Lumberjack Nick had done some art for me for the original artwork in his style. Then I had done some, I guess, like, what would you call them, like portrait version drawings of the same characters, and then I sent all that over to Jordan over at Skullforge, and then he did the sculpts. So actually 3 different artists worked on, which I know I got a big grin on my face because I'm really excited about it. I love like teaming up with other artists and working on stuff, and we've been doing that a lot in Stormtide as well. So I think you guys might really enjoy those. So that's our first piece.
Yeah, and just as kind of a minor aside, they're all named characters that are created by us. Like we came up with the characters and all that. They come with their own card so that you can use them in games if you want. And if you're actually playing the Stormtide campaign, they have a bunch of other things in the Stormtide boxes, as well as like tokens that you would normally use for them. So yeah, there's a lot of gameplay elements in it too, for those that are interested. If you just think the models are cool, and grab them. If you're not into Stormtide, that's fine. Totally not required. If you are playing Stormtide. So
yeah. So that was pretty cool. As always, if you like the podcast or the blog or any of our content that we create, think about supporting us on Patreon. We actually have another podcast, Fifth Trooper After Dark, that we do on Patreon. And, again, I know we talk about this every week, but again, that's something where we all get on, and whether it's through live Q&As or the weekly podcast, we kind of do a little bit deeper dive into stuff that we just don't have, generally on this podcast or on the Fifth Trooper podcast, we're trying to do as big of an overview within an hour that we can to kind of catch, everything that happened in that week and everything that's going on. But on the After Dark podcast on our Patreon, Mike and I sometimes literally just talk about one list and just do a deep dive into why we're building that list and how we would make it better, et cetera, et cetera. So any dollar amount that you want to throw our way on the Patreon would be great. And it helps us, keep the podcast running, keep the blog running. Our blog writers have been doing a magnificent job, and, Techno's been on a couple times. He writes for us, and so just keeping those guys all paid and happy and writing. And that's what Patreon does. So yeah, what else we got, Mike? Oh yeah, the back to Stormtide box 3. So this is the end of our first quarter of Stormtide this month, and box 3 is going to be shipping out later this week, early next week, hopefully, and we'll be getting that out to everybody, and that'll kind of end the first quarter, and then the continuation starts next month, where stuff gets real interesting. Basically in quarter 1, what we're doing is we're taking you from the rules you know and love and the worlds you know and love, and bringing you into our universe. And then box 4, which comes out in November, which is quarter 2, that really is going to like suck you into our universe. And we've got some really, really neat stuff going on. Again, multiple artists are working on these boxes. Mike's been creating some pretty crazy interactions. I was doing some of the art today, and I was just like, Mike, this is gonna be crazy. He goes, you haven't seen anything yet. Wait till you see this box. And I was like, oh my God. So I'm really excited for you guys to see what we've got up our sleeves. So if you haven't had a chance to get in on Stormtide, there's a catch up mechanic, so you can pay for the first couple boxes and then start your monthly subscription, or you can just do the monthly subscription and we'll start you at box 1 and you'll just be a couple boxes behind, but that's okay too. We'll have some more options in the future. We're still trying to work that out. For those of you that maybe don't really like the monthly subscription model, there'll be some other avenues for you soon. We're just talking those through. And then last but not least on housekeeping, Fifth Trooper podcast is back. Evan and I are back. We've done one episode 1 has been out. We've recorded episode 2, and that's going to be going out on Tuesday this week. So by the time this airs, we've already aired the Fifth Trooper podcast. But if you haven't had a chance to come listen to us, it's just a very much casual beer and pretzels take on or beer and pizza, whatever you guys like to eat and drink, very much a casual take on the game, and we're hoping to go a lot into like hobby, and for instance this week we talk about kit bashing and what that is and how you can do it for Star Wars Legion and stuff. So very excited. That's it for housekeeping. We did it, everybody. We could just end the podcast now, Kyle.
All right, we are the notorious scoundrels. No, I'm just kidding. All right, let's hit the news, because we have a lot of news this week.
Welcome to In the News.
So the first big news item, I think, is simply that the RG/points update, which previously they had said would be incoming by the end of October, is now incoming by Thanksgiving.
Hold up. I want to be really clear here. They said something to the effect of they're pretty sure that we'll get it before the end of Thanksgiving.
Okay. Yeah.
There were no promises. And I want to be real clear about that, because I don't want to perpetuate
yeah, and I don't think
falsehoods.
that even in the beginning when they like around mini extravaganza, didn't they weren't they like yeah, maybe in the next couple months. Like I don't think, maybe in the chat or something they've said something different, but
They
I think
specifically said by the end of October originally.
yeah. Listen, it's hard. I don't know.
They did say on the stream, I think it was Schick or Pagani essentially said, it is done. It has been submitted to like LFL or whatever, and they're waiting. They're just like waiting, right? So I don't know. I mean, like clearly they didn't deliver on their first promise. We'll see. We'll see how the rest of it goes. It's been pretty clear that Invader League has been pushed back in order to try and accommodate the schedule.
Yeah.
It looks like that may not end up happening. So
right. Yeah. So it's like it definitely got pushed back, and it sort of seems like it's kind of I don't know.
I mean, it did also get pushed back so that the new the Kashyyyk wave could make it into the mod.
Sure.
Which it does look like we will get. So props to the mod team on that.
Yeah. At least there is somebody that can deliver.
Oh.
It wasn't me this time, guys. I didn't do it. Just want everybody to be clear. I thought it, but I didn't say it out loud.
It's I mean, it's a little disappointing. We've had with the release delays, which of course we've hit home on this podcast, are basically out of anybody's hands. That's kind of is what it is. But then it's kind of created this situation where we've got like things feel a little stale. The unit legality has been the same since Atlantic City Open, which was earlier this year. So people are just kind of clamoring for a little spice, and I get it, but it's just it's a little frustrating to have it kind of like dangled and then be like, oh no, sorry, next month maybe.
So I want to go on a little bit of a tangent, because this makes me generally, so AMG aside, everything going on aside, I am a little bit fearful is not the right word, but just concerned with the fact that, like, we, releases getting delayed and like no content, like people like freak out about it, but like a game like Warhammer, like factions don't have updates for years, and like
Yeah.
nobody freaks out.
Except
Everything's
Space Marines.
Sure, right?
Yeah.
Like like Space Marines always
Yeah.
get, they're the shiny new thing or whatever. But like, I mean, when was the last time like Dark Eldar got a revamp or something? I don't know, whatever. That might be a bad example if they just got a revamp. I'm sorry, and like they'll get new rules every like edition, right?
But even
like,
that's like once every 18 months to 2 years.
right. Not only that, but like a lot of times, like even in a new edition, you don't even get new units for your faction or whatever. Your current units their rules might change a little bit, but like they hold their themes and what they do. Like, they generally do the same things from edition to edition. And like, I mean, I think a lot of factions in that game have not changed very much in a decade, and I guess my question is, like, why is that not okay for us? Is it because the game is so new? Is
I think I played fantasy, right? I think from when I started playing fantasy, that was just the reality. And so now I wonder, because Luke and Alex were so good about making updates and like it within a reasonable amount of time, and we were seeing erratas and all this stuff, that maybe the expectation is more of a living document. I also too wonder if that's a holdover from when everything was print. Right. So with old Warhammer, like you had to wait for the codex to come out in the new book, right? And you had to buy the book before. With a digital document, it's more of a living document. I think everybody goes, well, it's just a PDF, just like make the change, man. Like, why are we waiting? So I don't know. I think there's a couple different things that go because of that.
Well, and it's interesting too, because this timetable, the once a year thing for the points updates, is not any different than we've previously had. And even like a November drop would not be out of keeping with previous points updates.
Yeah.
I can't remember whether it was the first one or the second one we had, but one of them I think was in November. It's just had with like the teasers, they've never done teasers before.
Right.
And then the announcement of the timeline, those are two things that are new, I guess, to this points update. So maybe it's the creation of the expectations in the first place that's creating this anxiety about like, when are they going to drop? When are they going to drop? I don't know. It's hard to put my finger on it.
I've noticed too. So this is a weird thing that I've noticed, that people seem to be like extremely competitive right now. Like people that I've known that were just competitive before, like have like gone to this next level of competitiveness, which is odd for me, because we don't have, like, sure, if you just want to win your local tournament or Invader League or something, okay, but like we don't have any OP structure or anything that we're like competing for, where this level of competitiveness makes sense to me. Do you know what I mean? Like I've noticed it a lot more now. Well, like more than when we had like the primes and the OP structure almost too.
I think so. To me, kind of like what it boiled down to in my head was like, I think this might be a symptom of the only support the game has really ever received outside of product has been competitive support. Right? Like there really has not been hobby support for this game, official hobby support or anything like that.
Well, what do you mean by hobby support?
I mean, like when you go to like a convention for Warhammer, there's like tons of like how to build things and like how to paint things and stuff like that. I feel like we may not have
contests.
yeah, there's stuff like that, there's like the golden demon, and like and stuff like that. And I feel like maybe part of this anxiety over everything that is happening is kind of bred out of the fact that really the only thing we have to look to is the competitive side of things. And I'm not saying that's AMG's fault. In fact, I actually think they've been done at least an okay job of like promoting the hobby aspect of things from like their painting
Yep.
streams and stuff like that. And I don't get me wrong, I kind of it's not for me, but I do think that if the hobby side of the game was a little bit more prominent, I think the less of these issues would be less crucial and critical to the health and welfare of the game, right? Because people are like, oh,
Yeah.
this thing's broken, it's been broken for a while, it's still broken, and like the focus is on that rather than on this is a hobby and we're here to have fun, right?
Well, whenever people focus on different things, like people focus on what they appreciate. And I do agree it'd be interesting to, one thing that GW does that I think is really cool is they do like a monthly, besides Golden Demon, which is their big official painting competition. They do like a monthly painting competition with whatever it is that they're trying to promote that month. So it'll be like, take a photo of your best painted monster and submit it on our community page. And then at the end of the month, they'll pick somebody and that person will get like recognition on their community page. And they'll also do, official articles on their community page showcasing people's armies and stuff. So stuff like that. Like I definitely appreciate the fact that AMG has focused on the hobby with the painting streams and stuff like that. But yeah, it's,
I was along those lines. Let me ask you guys this. Do you think, because on some of their streams, they've been doing alternative paint schemes for the miniatures, right? So my question that came up for me was, I always thought that was a no-no because of the, the Lucasfilm stuff. But if that's okay, do you think that opens a pathway for us for like kit bashing and stuff and like having that open? Because their rules have been that at least half the mini has to be the original mini, or there's some rule around that, right?
I think just that it has to be based like the core structure of the mini has to still be an actual like licensed mini.
Yeah, I think it's got to be clear that it's an AMG or FFG product.
Right. So licensed mini, right? You just said that word.
But I don't think it has to be like that you have to use like the Stormtrooper Specialist model for the Stormtrooper Specialist if you want to like convert the comms tech guy to look like a specialist, because both of those are still Stormtrooper models.
Well, yeah. I don't know. I'm just wondering like what else that opens us up to. Like if they're allowed, if they could do alternate paint schemes and stuff that's not in canon, then there's stuff that they're going to allow in the OP structure and in gaming.
I mean, now that you mention that, I'm a little bit surprised they're allowed to get away with that based on like how stringent everything else has been.
I've always wondered, is it stringent or is it them being stringent?
It might be. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that question. I do think that like the creative license to like paint your minis however you want is like a little bit different than changing the product.
I think if they were going to do like a product sale page with a painted mini on it, and that painted mini was, Yoda in pink robes or something like that, I think that could be a problem. But if you've just got like somebody on a paint stream just hanging out and chatting with people and painting, I don't know. I mean,
I'm just wondering. Yeah, I'm not. Like what else? What does that open us up for? And this came up actually on our Q&A that we did on our Patreon. Timbo brought on the Wookiees and was showing us their sprues and stuff, and they had all these extra parts like swords and like guns and holsters and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, well, what else? What could we what could we build with that and like make these like, I don't know, maybe I have a stormtrooper unit that's got like swords on their backs and stuff.
I think that is actually 100% okay, because it's
Yeah.
still 100%. It's actually, it's not even like 50% like FFG or AMG, right? It's still like everything on that model is their product, right? So I would imagine that would be fine.
And that was a shameless plug for kit bashing on the 5th Trooper if you haven't listened yet.
And also for the Q&A.
Yeah, that's Patreon, right. Yeah. For Patreon.
Yeah,
I worked both those in.
Yeah, Timbo he is Canadian. So they have all the new hotness. And Timbo showed off some of it.
I find that interesting.
I mean, I don't want to get too much into the shipping issue. There's a lot of... They do. They also have a lot less people buying stuff in Canada.
For sure.
That's probably the biggest thing. But
I
know. Yeah. It's not just the ports. It's, there's not enough people to drive trucks. Like we talked about this last week. So
let's talk about it again, Kyle.
Yeah. I mean,
I feel like we could, but let's not.
We're short like 75,000.
All right, moving on. I'm
drivers.
sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry. Moving
on. Anyway, so maybe by end of November, they kind of left open the possibility that it could be like much sooner than that. I kind of get in my head, and this could be totally wrong, but I'm picturing like some dude at LFL just has this RRG like sitting in his inbox, and it's just, it's like somewhere in the queue, and like whenever he gets to reviewing it, he's going to review it and like hit the send button back to AMG, and they're going to be like, all right. Maybe I'm sure that's a gross oversimplification of the process.
It likely is, but I think my biggest takeaway from their description of I think to us, like the end user that are like pretty aware of like how hard it was for FFG to get this stuff pushed through, I sort of think that they don't go through this with Marvel based on how they were talking about it, which I thought was interesting from a like, considering Disney owns both IPs basically at this juncture.
Yeah, right, but Lucasfilm doesn't.
Yeah,
right. I understand. I just like, just from like under the same umbrella, it seems like they maybe were caught off guard a little bit by how long this has taken.
Based on how many Marvel board games are out there versus how many Star Wars ones, I would think it might be much easier to get and to flourish with, And hey, listen, but maybe that's what makes Star Wars so great, right? Is this like grip that they keep on the canon and what is and isn't, and that's why we love the worlds so much.
I want to tangent one more time just because it's super relevant. So no spoilers, but I watched the first 3 episodes of Star Wars Visions, which is on Disney Plus, and they take canon and they throw it out the window. Like it's just like gone. It's interesting from like Disney's like allowing this to be a thing.
Well, and they're saying it's explicitly not canon, which is why it's a thing, right?
Totally.
Did you notice too, though, that they use adjacent sounds and music, but not the actual sounds and music in it? I thought that was really interesting.
I didn't. It definitely it feels Star Warsy, but it's interesting takes on like a lot of different things. So I would encourage. I've only watched the first 3 episodes. They're all entertaining, and they're only like 14 minutes a piece. So like, if you don't have time to watch a regular show, I'd highly recommend it.
I agreed. I think I've watched them all. I think they're worth it. There's some I really liked. There was some I was kind of like, yeah, all right. But overall, it was worth it. And it's short, like Mike said. It's not going to eat up your whole week to catch them all.
Yeah.
Okay, tangent over. Back to the news.
Back to the news.
Right, Kyle. Let's move
this segment ever.
Move this along.
So yeah, TLDR. We could get it earlier. We maybe won't. Who knows? Maybe just sort of, I don't know if lower your expectations is the right phrase, but I view this kind of the same way as like I view white die saves on defense. Right? Sure. Like you sort of just expect nothing, and if you get paint, you're happy about it. And and then we won't all be anxious about like checking every weekday. Are we going to get an RRG drop today?
I am gonna throw this back on them a little bit. Please stop setting expectations that there's like time frames and deadlines that like you clearly can't meet.
Just don't tell us anything.
Just don't tell us anything. We would be much happier with you if you just like pulled this out of what seems like thin air and we're like, here's a gift. Then
that's how the first and second updates were. So.
Yeah, like I would much, people would get way less upset.
Yep.
We did get some teasers on stream. Really two primary, well, more than two. I guess we got really like four because previously they had just teased the Vader changes, which we won't rehash.
Yep.
But they did tease some stuff with Han, with some super minor stuff with Veers, Rex, and then Clone Trooper keyword, and then some also changes to turn 0, the setup phase. So
yeah.
Let's do Han first. So Han is getting steady, they have said.
Sure.
And then quote, other things are in the works. Whatever that means.
Yeah, he might actually be okay or even good with steady.
I hope so. He's it's Han Solo. But yeah, it's hard to say because like who knows what these other things were? Who knows if his points cost is staying the same?
Yeah, I mean, if it's steady alone,
yeah, I think it makes him playable. I think.
Yeah.
I don't know if it makes him like the best commander in the faction.
Which would be fine.
What do you think? He goes from like an F to like a C, maybe?
Yeah, probably C+. But I mean, I'm gonna be honest, if there are other things in the works on top of Han, sounds like he's getting the Vader treatment. So we're probably just gonna play Han if you're in Rebels for the next year and a half. So
I hope he's not getting the Vader treatment.
I hope. I mean, like in fairness, it's pretty hard, I think. It would be pretty difficult to do that on like a 6 health white save unit, without dramatically changing his defensive profile, which hopefully seems unlikely to me based on a variety of things.
Yeah, I mean, hopefully the target is like, well, maybe I consider taking him instead of Cassian or something like that. That's like the right, the right area. Not every rebelist should have on it.
So I wouldn't hate that.
Yeah, I think if I was actually looking at lists the other day because I'm trying to figure out what I want to bring to this tournament we're having in November, and I want to do something fun. And I was thinking about bringing Han and Chewie, and I like some of the stuff with the command cards and like just messing with people, through the command cards and what he does. And so if they can make him a little bit better, I mean. Han and the bus and maybe Han Chewie bus land speeder. I don't know. I kind of like it.
Yeah, I mean, like, maybe the change of plans meta never really happened. Which I think is kind of unfortunate.
Because I'm just saying,
still a good card.
Yeah, you get a land speeder. Han was steady. You pop him in there. You have him step out, and now he's shooting things as soon as he like tucks and rolls out of the land speeder.
Well, he can just shoot directly out of the land speeder.
Yeah, or that. I'm just saying there's a lot of different options. Maybe pops out, grabs box, shoots somebody. Who knows? I mean, there's a lot of stuff that could happen. But anyways.
He's always been pretty dangerous up close. So now he can peekaboo. Veers down in points, no changes to command cards. Did not specify if there was anything else happening with him.
He's gonna have to go down significantly, I feel like, if there's no changes to his command cards.
I hope so. Make him like 50 points.
He can't be that cheap.
That'd be too cheap. Yeah.
Mike, shut up, Mike. AMG.
I knew he's your boy.
50
Jay.
points. If you make him 50 points, I will show you the new meta.
The new meta will be everyone ever has to like take Veer's Vader.
Yeah.
Like that's the meta. I mean I could see him at like 65 or 70 maybe.
I'd take that. I would take that all day long.
Yeah, I'd say 70. 65 area. Sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean, like he's like a Imperial officer with electric binoculars that like has a couple command cards that are like fine-ish.
Well, and a significantly better offensive profile.
Yeah, totally. I just like, I don't know. Max firepower is not like that much of an upgrade over ambush when you have to give the order to Veers.
No, it's not.
You know, I don't know.
It's still good for picking off like exposed strike teams and stuff like that.
100%. I it's more of a side grade than an upgrade, I think, most of the time.
Dude, hey, listen, I would take it. 20 points, then I can get 2 more astromechs in my list. Like, I'll take that all day long.
Yeah.
He's 80 right now, isn't he?
Ish, I think.
Yeah, so that would be 10 points off to make him 70.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Oh, I thought he said 60.
Oh no, the 60 would be too low.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Speaking of points, Rex up 10 points.
Yeah. Make
I
it
have
50.
feelings about this.
Make it 20.
My feelings are that we don't know if this is necessary or not.
I don't think it is anymore.
Well, but we still don't have. Okay, so this is related. We might as well talk about.
Yeah, I
token
think the
sharing.
next thing is directly related to this.
Yeah. So the clone keyword can only spend 1 shared token per attack or defense.
That's what they're changing it to.
Yeah.
Oh,
And that means you cannot spend a shared aim and a shared surge on the same attack. So like you're only pulling 1 token ever, which in regards to Rex actually lowers his stock quite a bit. Like the double aim move with Rex is less good.
Now you just have to spend those aims on 2 separate units instead of the same one.
Totally. Which is still good.
Yeah.
You know, I think but I think maybe on the whole, this does take a lot of the teeth. It takes some of the teeth out of the like Rex only lists, you know.
yeah. It's such a weird thing, right? These changes aside, don't get me wrong, Rexstar is very good. But we're seeing a number of units that are coming out that are very much counter that, right?
Yeah.
And so the meta has started to shift anyways. So now you're going to hinder them even more.
Hang on, a number of units. We're talking primarily about really just 3 things, right? Burst of speed, the bus, and Wookiees.
Yeah, I would throw even like maybe the Fluttercraft and stuff in there too. That's a good counter, you know.
I think you could probably toss Magna Guard in that kit and caboodle.
Yeah,
I think
they
we're
don't have
gonna
Pierce,
see.
though.
I don't think that matters a ton.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know. The thing is that like once you're in melee with clones, if you have multiple units in melee with multiple squads of clones, things get dicey very quickly.
But I guess what I was saying was whatever the number of units is, right? Like we were already seeing a shift where at least people had answers. Not in all, you know, with burst of speed with Empire, there's your answers, you know, for all the other factions had some answers. And so this seems like maybe we could have waited and seen how the meta like shook out before we made such a significant. I think both the changes seem like a lot.
This is a significant nerf to the lying in wait strategy that clones get to play. They can't do that anymore, really. I mean they can, but it's not a drain the table of aim tokens effect anymore.
Yeah, it's not I roll 10 dice, you roll 10 saves kind of situation.
Which I think is fine. I do think that this nerfs ARC troopers. You know, I mean, like not being able to like spend 4 aims on your ARC troopers to like ensure you get the crit or whatever is, you know, kind of a deal. I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about this overall, but I do think that like Rex going up in points is not really where I want my clones to be at the moment.
Yeah. It's hard to look at these in isolation because it's like, is this all we're getting?
Right.
Or not?
You know, if if there's a bunch of points changes that makes Republic units like go up in cost because they had been doing so well, like I fear for the faction. I also, to some extent, like I think it should not be understated that the clone changes actually make the Jedi characters a lot better, because you are not like, you can share tokens through Ceresu Mastery or Exemplar or Yoda's 3-pip in addition to the shared tokens you normally, the one shared token you get per instance or whatever. So you can still kind of, it gives you a reason to take Jedi, which I think are good, that augment the faction's abilities. I like that about this change.
Yeah, I agree. It's sort of a relative value increase to lists that are not based 100% on clones.
Yeah,
which I think is a good thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
I do think that barring, if it's tough to talk about without knowing what the changes are, but like if there were no other changes, phase 2s just went up more in stock
because they get their own surge tokens.
Because they get their own surge tokens. And I think a lot of people saw this change and were like, oh, phase 2s are dead because you only can share one token per thing. And it's actually the reverse, I think, because having your own token so you don't have to share is going to be more critical. And you can still give it away if you don't need it. Right?
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, and if you are running phase 1s, you're going to want to use direct and or 5s and or aggressive tactics to make sure they're getting their own surges.
Yeah.
Because I think aside from the wind up ridiculous end of turn 8 aim with the Z6 shot, the other thing that this primarily affects is, as you mentioned, spending surges at the same time as spending aims or dodges.
Yep.
The times when you're not doing a wind up shot and you're going to need more than 2 aims, I don't think that's going to come up that often. Same with multiple dodges on defense. But the surge thing, definitely, I think that's going to be felt. So yeah, I agree. You're still going to want to take phase 2, so you have your own surges to spend.
Totally. Yeah. I think that this complicates the sharing mechanic to some extent on whether you should spend tokens at certain times and stuff. Before it was kind of unload. You get to unload at the end of the turn, so just some of the you can make a bad decision and be okay. Now you have to be a bit more precise and when you spend certain things, I think.
Yeah, I think previously you could be basically just my army has X number of aims.
Yep.
My ball has X number of aims, and that's my universal stack of aims that I can just spend on whichever unit I want. And now the location and the timing of those aims is going to be much more relevant.
Yeah. Which I think is, again, overall more healthy. We'll see how it plays out balance-wise, I suppose.
Yeah. It's certainly a play experience improvement, whether it's a balance and overall improvement is
I have not been on the receiving end of what I've been doing to people for very much. And I apologize to the people I did it to, sort of. But it's not fun to take your 80-point unit and just pick it up from full health to 0. The amount of times I've just removed a B2 unit from full to dead in an activation is many.
Well, and yeah. I think it helps too, because sometimes in my experience, even playing a double heavy list, which I mostly play competitively, you could just keep re-rolling for those crits, and then they just be coming through, and you're like, yo, what is going on? How is this even possible? And so I think that definitely kind of starts evening it out. And also on the defensive side too, right? Before, if I had an ATST that shot a clone trooper unit in cover, I'd be like, yeah, there's no, I'll maybe get one if I'm lucky, even if I get all 9 shots on my ATST or whatever. And now it seems much more reasonable of a task, to be able to maybe kill something.
I will say this is a pretty dramatic this is going to change dramatically how Republic players have to deal with armor.
Yeah, you have to bring actual anti-armor weapons
Yeah,
instead of just being like, I got arcs, I'm fine.
Right.
Yeah.
You're like, because you can't
Yeah.
re-roll 4 times with your arcs to make sure you get the crit, right? So which is, I think, another problem altogether. The RPS is really good, but it was only really good because you could supplement it with the arcs, and the arcs no longer really do that job, at least reliably. And there's not a lot of other good impact options in clones.
Which I listen, maybe for a clones player, it may be a little bit of a feels bad, but for the rest of us, it's a feels good, because now I feel like I spent 400 plus points on these 2 heavy units that before, like, a couple of ARC troopers could just be like, yep, dead. And now it's like, okay, like at least I got to try to take out my ATST or my tank or something.
I definitely respect that. This is going to be an unpopular opinion. I think vehicles, the way that they exist in the game, are actually really bad for it.
I agree.
From a, like, don't get me wrong, they're really cool.
Yeah.
And I think they should be. I think the rules for how they work, and how they die, and how they can block things are tremendously not good for the rule set.
There's a lot of ways to create situations that are uninteractive with vehicles.
Yeah.
Which I think previously has not really been highlighted that much until the existence of the AA5.
Yeah,
like
because there was times with the tank that, like, I could block out units, right, from like passing through terrain or make them go over like difficult terrain to slow them down or something. But the options for that were far and few between, because the tank that we've talked about this before, it doesn't have hover or anything like that. So it's a different tool. But yeah, I can only imagine with the tank like being able to just move over it, but like, oh, okay, you can't go this way anymore.
Well,
Yeah.
and as we've said previously, the weak point sides makes a big difference.
Yeah, that too.
Because
Yeah.
you actually incur a lot of risk by shoving that
Right.
thing up in your opponent's face in a way that it's blocking. So,
Yeah, with the tank, it was more of this like calculated, and if you made it work, it was more impressive than it was like, because I think I remember, maybe it was, I forgot who it was, but someone was trying to come around something with Palp, and I just rammed the tank between 2 pieces of terrain so Palp couldn't come up anymore. And my opponent was like, oh man, I did see that coming. And and that was just this fun piece. But now it's with the party bus, it's just like, yeah, we do this all the time now, this is how it works. And you're just like, oh, for God's sakes.
Yeah, and I mean, my first experience with dealing with stuff like that was, the double AAT lists. Like, they did a decent bus impression when they wanted to. I mean, there was a while there. It's still some. I mean, like, where you could just like completely block the KP. In the middle KP with a tank.
You can still do that.
You can still do it. I mean, I think tables are built more now, so that's not as big of an issue. But
there was some KPs you could get 2 with the tank.
Yeah, but I mean, like, where you could completely, you could just like the entire KP would be under the vehicle, right?
Yeah.
And when the game that you're playing is, can I roll crits? It's just not very fun.
No, but again, that's kind of limited to the KP. You didn't see a lot of situations with the AAT where, like, you're blocking your opponent from grabbing the mid box, or you're blocking your opponent's hostage from being able to get out of your half of the table. Those are both things that happen with AA5s on the regular.
Yeah.
So, more so than previous vehicles, it's kind of highlighted how with the displacement rules and with the vehicle blocking rules, if you have a vehicle that's fast enough and large enough, you can really you can actually just kind of wall off sections of the table from your opponent to include the middle of the table, which is usually important. And that's just not very interactive.
Yeah. Which, I mean, maybe it makes impact more mandatory. I guess my fundamental issue with it is that like if you have to spend a lot of points on impact, generally speaking, it makes your list a lot worse against things that the impact doesn't do anything against.
Yeah.
Yep.
I agree 100%. Like I've talked about in the past, like all comers lists. Like if you have to load up with impact, you don't really have that all comers thing anymore. You're just focused.
And one thing I like about like how like 40K deals with it, and I'm not saying they do it better, just to be clear, but I like that when I take like a plasma gun in my Space Marine squad, like it's there to deal with vehicles, but like it's also very like it does a thing that is effective against things that aren't vehicles. I don't feel terrible because I took a plasma gun, right? Or a melta gun or whatever. And so yeah. I don't know.
That was a good talk. I liked it.
Yeah, good talk. We're not done yet with teasers. We got one more.
Oh,
And that is the red picks table side, not blue player.
okay.
We're
So
set
no
up.
more bids, huh? This is what we wanted.
Is it?
I didn't want this.
We
I
didn't
think
want
this
bids
is
anymore. I didn't want bids anymore.
I mean, like, yeah, I'm not a huge fan of bidding, but I think that
I'm not saying this wasn't the way to do it. I'm just saying
I like bids, but
we didn't want bids. I hate them.
I don't like high bids, but I like the concept of bidding.
Yeah, but why even have a point system then? If you like, it just doesn't make any sense.
I think the battle card change is a much bigger deal to bidding than table side.
Well, I think both. The combo of both of them. Right? The 4 battle cards and the fact that red gets to choose the side. Like, I don't know. Do I care about blue anymore? I don't.
Do we know what the timing is on the side table side pick? Like, is it the same? Is it when you walk up to the table and before, like?
I think it'd be really awkward if it wasn't.
So right. So I guess my point here is like, so red has to pick the table side without knowing what deployments are in their opponent's deck. That seems kind of like a little bit of a crapshoot.
Well,
I mean,
you always kind of pick table side based on like a corner anyway, right? Like lengthwise and short edge, and that's going to cover all of the deployments basically.
I mean, it doesn't cover disarray. It doesn't cover danger close. It doesn't.
Well,
I mean, doesn't cover hemmed in. Like, yeah.
It covers hemmed in that you're still picking like a long edge, right? Hemmed in is still a long edge to long edge deployment.
Sure.
At the end of the day. Disarray is the same regardless of which side you're on. The blue and red zones are the exact same spots regardless of which way it's flipped. And then danger close at the end of the day is still like it's like this, right? But you're still going directionally functionally from short edge to short edge.
I don't understand.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not connecting that, Kyle. Sorry.
What's that?
Because you said pick a corner.
Yeah.
Can you explain it a little bit more?
Oh, so when I pick a table side, I look at both the long edge to long edge and then the short edge to short edge, but it's always, if it's long edge to long edge, it's the side that's closest to you. And if it's short edge to short edge, it's the right side. That's the side that's directly to the right of that long edge, right? So you're essentially picking a corner.
Gotcha.
Because all of the deployments in some fashion, except for disarray, which is the same regardless of which side you pick, are going to go in some way along that axis. They're either going to go right to left, or they're going to go from you towards your opponent on the long edge to long edge, or they're going to go diagonally between those two axes. So
okay, I gotcha.
You're kind of like, it's like as if you were to draw like a diagonal line from the left corner that's closest to you to the right side corner that's farthest from you, and cut the table in half. That's kind of like the half of the table that you're picking, if that makes sense, regardless of what the deployment is.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I think that's kind of a gross oversimplification of like how I go through it when I walk up to a table. Like,
wow, Really? Because that's more complicated than what I go through when I go to a table.
I just like when I'm blue player and I walk up to a table, I know what deployments are in my deck, and I can look at the terrain and know that like exactly how the terrain pieces are going to affect my deployment choices, right? Like, whereas if I'm red player and I walk up to the table and we're not using my deployment deck, do I know what the 8 possible deployments are? Yes. Is it feasible to like contingently plan well for all 8 deployments? I don't think that's true. And I think, I don't know.
It's a little bit awkward. I get what you're saying.
Yeah, I don't like it from like I don't.
You're making a less informed decision than you would be if you were picking as blue.
But I think you're thinking about it as the consequence to red player. But I think too, there's the consequence to blue player that as red, you're ideally taking the better side of the board. So you're maybe making them question their own choices in their deck. And then they're like, oh crap, I got to play with this. Like, you know what I mean? Maybe.
Well, the situation that I don't like here is that this feels like it's supposed to be like a consolation prize or a bonus for like getting red player or whatever, right? It's like this is a thing red player gets to do, and it should like make being red player feel good. But I think it's actually going to have the opposite effect in that there's going to be times when you pick the wrong table side and you don't figure it out until their deployments get flipped, and that's going to feel way worse, knowing that like you had incomplete information to work with and you kind of had to flip a coin, and then you got screwed because you were working with bad information. I don't know, it just that feels way worse to me than just like letting blue player pick table side with full information.
Well, it's definitely, whether or not it's like objectively better for red player, I think there will be times like you mentioned where you make the wrong call based on the deployments. I think what definitely is true is that it's worse for blue player.
It definitely, but I mean, I guess what I'm saying is that it's putting it in red players' hands to just like 50% of the time, if you're flipping a coin, it's the same for blue player.
Well, okay. So here's where I'm gonna argue with you, Mike. I think you're saying this with the assumption that all the tables you're going to be on are going to be equal and are going to be put together well. And I'm looking at it more from out of all the events I've been to, not all the tables are well balanced. And so there's definitely, like what Kyle was saying, if I look at this long edge and this short edge and I can go, oh yeah, this is way better, like I'll just take this side. And even if blue gets to pick the deck, I have good line of sight, I have good blocking, I have good cover. Like
my point is that you're like, okay, this table side is good, and then you flip the deployments and you don't actually get to use what you base your decision on, is my point. And I think that feels terrible.
I mean, there's a couple factors there. One, you can sort of guess your opponent's deployments based on their list.
Yeah, assuming that like you're good enough at the game to like.
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of ifs there.
But I think those go hand in hand. Because if I'm not good enough at the game to know to kind of guess what my opponent's going to have, then I don't know that it matters.
There's a very large difference between knowing the things that you brought, which is like a very basic thing to be able to like, I know my list, I know what my units do, I know what my battle deck does. It's very different than I know what my opponent's list does, I know what my opponent's battle deck does. I know like there's a very large skill gap there between those two things.
That's fair. I guess for me, I generally, most of the lists that I build for competitive hardly ever have a big enough bid to be blue player lately. So I've always been red. And so I'm just like, I don't know, this sounds good. Now I get to pick the side of the table. So I'm fine with this. You know what I mean? Like from someone who's always been red for the most part.
I mean, it's objectively a nerf to blue player, which makes it a relative buff to red player, even if your decision ends up being a poor one based on bad information.
Sure.
Yeah, I think that's I think that it is a nerf to blue player, most of the time. I think it just
Which-
feels worse.
Which I think is good.
It undoubtedly is.
I don't like
I
this change.
I don't like it from a like makes sense. The thing I don't like about the change is that I think it makes this gives a decision to red player that they don't have full information on, and I think that is far more difficult for newer players. This is a hard decision for people that don't play this game a ton.
I think that's fair. I think though the four battle cards helps, because you can't get locked in as easily into something. So
The
there's
4
more
battle cards is a great change. I think
I think so too. Yeah, I'm saying both though, right? Like I'm just wondering, Mike, right? We don't know for sure until we see this out and people play it, but like, I wonder if it's not going to be as hard line as maybe you think it's going to be because of the battle cards as well. Even though blue is picking all those cards, they know all the cards that they have. The chance of me getting locked into something really bad is slightly less, I think, because of the battle card system as well.
My issue is more that I think that the red player is going to get screwed, and they're not going to realize they got screwed by a choice that they made. Most like my issue with the system is that the people that get screwed by picking the wrong table side as red player probably are never going to know that, and they're not going to know that it's a thing that they have to fix in their play. Frankly,
all right, but I would have guessed that if they were blue player with the old rules, if they don't know what side of the table to pick, then they're getting screwed either way. So,
but the thing is, they have the information to make an informed decision.
What's that thing from the Matrix? Ignorance is bliss.
Yeah, I guess.
Yeah. Maybe
I will say people are pretty bad at picking table sides, even as blue player.
They totally are. But at least they have full information.
Yeah, and so I have a completely separate problem with this from that has nothing to do with the timing.
All right.
I would have the same problem with it even if you picked the table side after the cards were flipped, and I think it would even be worse. And it's simply that like it kind of seems like an unnecessary nerf to blue player.
I feel agree with that.
I feel like the 4-card flip was enough. And what I'm afraid of is a situation where you basically don't care whether you're red or blue player.
That's exactly where I'm at.
Yeah, I don't mind that a ton.
Well, here's why. Let me elaborate a little bit.
Yeah, please.
I like clearly a situation where being blue player is so advantageous that you create like a 60-40 or like a 70-30 situation to win just by being blue. That's bad, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that it should be like 55-45 or 53-47 or whatever in favor of blue player, because the concept of bidding essentially allows players to set the market value for blue player and what that is. And when a player bids, they're consciously making a decision to not take additional upgrades or additional units or whatever in order to secure a specific advantage. And whatever that advantage is valued at, that's for the players to decide. But they're making a conscious decision to try and secure a setup phase advantage in exchange for giving up a upgrade or multiple upgrades or something like that. If you get to a situation where you're basically just like, well, we might as well just roll off to see who's red or blue player, then that's essentially like 40k, and you're just going to have everyone trying to get as close to 800 points as possible.
I think that's fine. I think we should take the bid system and throw it out the window, but we all know that.
Yeah, I love that aspect of list building specifically, that you can like allocate a percentage of your points to the setup phase. I think that's an additional strategy nuance that Legion has that other games are missing, and I like that. And I think it would take away from the game a lot if you basically might as well just flip a coin for who's red and who's blue.
So does it change your attitude though? Because right now it's table side, and then blue still gets the cards, right? Their battle deck. It is up to 4 cards, but they did announce that they had some more stuff coming out as far as battlefields go. So whenever those end up coming, right? I think the more cards come out, you're going to go back to that again, even with this system.
Did they say they're doing more setup phase cards?
They said so I thought they had said it was something similar to like Vital Assets or something, that they had a couple things coming out.
So
if I'm remembering that
I don't.
correctly.
I mean,
I don't
they
remember that
had like
either.
a couple like event packs or something, but I don't think they're going to be competitive legal. I mean, we'll see.
Oh, I don't know. Okay,
But-
I
so-
took it as that. My bad.
So I will give you that. I think that you should be able to pay to have setup costs, but I think that that's already baked into the game. And I think that if we baked what you're talking about into the game properly, I would be fine with that. I have an issue with bidding specifically. If you could pay 2 points to like put bombing run in the battle deck or something, I think that would be fine. And right now you have setup costs that you pay for in keywords like scout and infiltrate and like cad bane's like bane tokens, right? Like you pay for him and you get that as like a perk, right? Darkness Descends, Padme's like or divulge card, right? Those are all like things that you're intrinsically paying for in order to get an advantage in the setup phase. And if we wanted to give everybody the same battle deck and say, hey, you can upgrade your battle deck, and like for 5 points you can sub out, breakthrough for, or that bad example, but intercept the transmissions for bombing run or something, fine, I'm okay with that. What I have a problem with is you scoping your opponent for 1 point and getting what is roughly an equivalent of like a 40-point advantage when you like spiked battle deck.
Well, and that's why I'm saying that there is there's kind of a sweet spot where you still want it to be like advantageous to be blue, but not so advantageous that you just like are screwed if you lose that bid. I think we were already approaching that sweet spot when they said 4 battle cards, because red already gets, there are other advantages red already gets, right, that people don't generally talk about, but they get second deployment, which is significant. And they get and they get the last veto. So yeah, I don't know. I don't think that we're in that territory. I think this is kind of a change that part of the reason I have a problem with it is it feels like you're just introducing more randomness.
Yes.
Like I'd rather it just be clearly advantageous for blue, and then people can decide how many points they think that's worth.
Yep.
As far as the table side thing is concerned. This sort of, you start to get into territory where like you could roll up to a board and like based on the opponent, your table side your opponent picked and your deployment cards, the game's decided before it starts, or it could not matter at all. And I guess I have an objection to I don't think it was necessary. An additional erosion of blue pair of advantage was necessary, but B, this just feels like it introduces unnecessary randomness to me.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
All right,
I like randomness.
I know you're an agent of chaos. Well, yep. I mean, I think that this could have an effect where people just try and build more, because right now you can kind of make it a conscious decision where you're either building a blue player list, right? A list where your setup cards are important and your unit choices reflect that, because, some units are good with certain battle cards and bad with others. Or you could build a no bid list, essentially a red player list where you don't care what the battle cards are, and your list is, the perfect example of this is like the Cowboy Tyrone Wookiee skew, where you just have as many Wookiees as you can fit with recon intel, and you're just like, I don't care what the objective is, I'm just going to table my opponent. Or even like old school Rexstar, where you're like, I don't care what the objective is, my opponent can't score whatever it is if their units are all dead. But you're making a conscious decision there between, do I want to make a blue player list with a tailored objective deck, or do I want to just not bid and make a red player list? I think this pushes the game more in the territory of like towards that. I'm just going to make a red player list, and if I get my objective cards too, because I'm at 798, my opponent's at 799, cool. But if I don't, whatever, I don't care. that's way less interesting to me. I don't know.
Yeah, I agree that it is way less interesting. I have a hard time seeing a balance being struck where it's ever where your like hypothetical perfect situation ever like actually coalesces.
Yeah, for sure. Because I think today we're on the opposite end of that, right? Where I think, and it's always felt like that. Like every time we come around, there's a very specific set of circumstances that you could get blue player and have the right units that you basically could auto win potentially, no matter what the other person has, and that doesn't seem right either.
Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If we were in a situation where players that wanted to run those blue player lists were bidding like 6 to 10 points, would that be okay?
So yeah, I think the answer to that question is yes. I don't think in a situation where you actively want to bid 10 points and you want it that badly, because that's like the difference between having force push and not having force push. Like for you to want it that badly, you also would pay 30 points for it. That is my fundamental issue with the system, is that if you're willing to go 10 point, 10, 12, 15 points deep, if you have to, you're also willing to go 30 points deep.
I don't think that's true though, because there have been times in the game when that's where the bids have sat, is like 6 to 10 points.
I don't really think that the bids have ever sat. I think every time they escalate, and then the next tournament we see it go up by like 5 points, and then the next tournament it keeps going up.
There have been times when they're lower.
I'm sure there have been, but like, I don't know. Like over the course of the last year, we have just seen bids incrementally escalate, and nothing has like really fundamentally changed about the battle deck you can take.
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that has a lot more to do with two specific problems that have nothing to do with the inherent structural blue player advantages, and that is R2D2 and bombing run.
But the game hasn't actually changed.
No,
people have just decided to value it more, and as their opponents start to bid more against them, they're like, well, this is worth 40 points to me.
Well, and as someone that wishes I had more bid after my last tournament, which was Lone Star Open, I can confidently say 100% that entire reason that I had more bid is R2D2.
And that's fair. I guess like the idea that, so the thing is that if bidding is important, something like R2D2 has to exist, I think, fundamentally, right? Like if you want bidding to be tangible, in that I want this to matter and structurally affect my win percentage on the game, it's got to be worth 30 points. If it's not worth 30 points, like that's the, like I don't know. I think it's an inherent flaw in the system, in that like if we want blue player to be valuable, it needs to be worth something like 30 points. But that's a problem.
I don't know if I agree with that, but anyway, we've beaten this horse far too much.
I like it. Good talk.
Yeah, good talk. TLDR, I hate this change.
We can agree on that.
Okay.
I like it.
I love the 4 battle card flip change. I hate this one.
Yeah,
I think yeah.
Well,
anyways,
yeah.
4 battle card flip is a good step in the right direction for sure.
Yeah. All right. Should we talk about Invader real quick?
Yeah, I guess.
Actually, there's 2 things we can talk about. We can talk about Invader. Also, we didn't hit this in the news segment, and we should have. If you're going to SoCal Open, the cutoff date for RG points changes to be legal for the tournament has been set on the 21st of October. The event starts on the 22nd. So,
perfect.
If you're traveling on the 21st, I'm sorry. I'm not, luckily, because I'm not doing the skirmish event on the 22nd, but
I think that's crazy. Like what happened to 12 days? Why was that so bad? Why are we against that?
I don't know.
I
there's-
mean, yeah. Go ahead.
It's just really awkward because, like, besides the fact that, this, who knows what's in this thing, but it could be like functionally a re-release of 50% of the units in the game, right? I don't think it'll be that drastic, but who knows, right? And like,
I mean,
when you're going to a tournament, like, you want to have some idea of what you're doing before you leave, right?
based on what they're doing to Vader and Han, though, like I don't think that's out of the question.
Yeah, I guess my
You know?
point is, so there's two considerations here. The first is simply that, like, it seems kind of unlikely that they would drop like exactly on the 21st. But if they do, you have people that are getting on planes on the 21st. They could like put their army in their bag, get on a plane. That army could be legal and good, or in their eyes good, right? Everyone that brings something to a tournament thinks their army's good.
Yep.
And by the time they get to the convention, that army that they've brought with them on the plane could be illegal because the cost of the units in it have gone up.
Yeah.
Or
like,
inversely, the cost has gone down and you've got like a 40 to 50 point gap
Right.
now, and blue player doesn't matter anymore. So what are you
Whoa.
so what are you doing?
Whoa.
Bleep that out.
I'm gonna
Yeah.
have to. All right.
right,
Yeah, no,
exactly, Jay.
I mean,
It's-
but I have
Sorry,
a similar
sorry.
feeling. This feels like, I don't know, sort of negligent to me.
I mean, it's a clear, like, I guess if you live in San Diego, you don't care as much because you're just driving
Right.
from your house or whatever. But like,
But if you live on the East Coast, I bet you care.
Anybody
But
that
also,
does
like-
any amount of planning and prep kind of gets screwed here.
right, it's not just planning and prep and practice. It's also like painting.
Yeah.
I mean, I run 3 different factions. I don't have every model that I own for all 3 of those factions painted. But if they do some wild buff to some unit that I don't have painted, like, I'm not gonna have time to slap 3 colors on that thing if I want to use it, much less practice with it.
Right.
Yeah, look, I get that things have been kind of stale.
Yeah.
I get that people
Have
are
they,
like,
though? Like people keep saying
Well,
that.
and this is what I was trying to talk
yeah,
about.
I don't think they
earlier.
have either.
Like why are we demanding change? Like, there are things that could be better, but like, I don't know, other games go through like years of the same meta.
Well, and have we even had the same meta? Like, you even with
that's
the same unit legality, you
no.
look at, so we've had the same unit legality really since the last Invader season. That season was won by a Rex Star.
Whoa.
That's not
buses
true.
legal?
Buses were not legal.
Oh, you're right. I'm sorry. Buses were not legal. All right.
And
So-
and what's the lats?
Whatever.
yeah,
Who cares?
Whatever.
All right. So I'm sorry. My bad. You're right. Buses were not legal. So the
Yeah.
first tournament that buses were legal for, and allowed, whatever, was Atlantic City Open.
Yep.
And then that unit roster has stayed the same through present day. Atlantic City Open was won by Malby.
It's only been a couple months.
Right. It's really only been a couple months. But even within that time period, that tournament was won by Malby 2. Second place was double AAT. The next tournament was Lone Star, I think, right? We didn't have any
I think.
online tournaments in between there. And that was won by double Airspeeder. And second place was Vader Dewbacks. Has it really only been 2 tournaments with the same?
I mean, we had the London
roster?
GT that we talked about a week or 2 ago.
Yeah, but that had Yoda in it.
It did. Yeah, it I mean,
burst.
it at least had burst of speed. But I mean, it seemed like it didn't change the meta that much, right? I don't know. I just like,
And I feel like if we were to keep the same meta going into SoCal, like, I couldn't tell you what I think is going to win.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, exactly. That's my point. Like, I think I've heard this the last week and a half, multiple people like, oh, this game's stale. And it's like, what are you talking about? Like, we just got new units. Do you like what you just said, Kyle? Like, if we did a 100-man, 120 person, not man, but person tournament tomorrow, could you tell me what was going to win?
No.
I think we could tell you it was probable to be in the top 8.
Yeah.
But I think, it's kind of.
But then you could see a Jin bus list win out of nowhere for no reason.
There's still a lot of innovation going on as far as like what people are doing, like the Vader 2 back list that is, I think, is enough to talk about that. And it took a little wind and, made some waves. But like, I don't know, I think that there's still a lot of room for that sort of thing. I don't know. I think that this is we're like always looking ahead instead of looking at like what we have. There's always the focus on the next release or that next thing, and we've always got to know it's coming. And I don't know. Games Workshop doesn't do that.
Yeah, I don't know.
This is going to be controversial. I almost wish they would not stop, but I wish the AMG would have just like been like, hey, we're not, you got 1 year. We're going to get all our stuff in order in a year. Whatever's out is out, and that's what's out. And that's what we're going to play, so that we could have at least built a meta, because the metas in this game, it varies by month, right? Whatever units are out, that's generally where the meta ends up going. And so, or we find something new, right, to counter that, or the meta is always changing. So it's a weird term for me to like talk meta, because is there ever truly a meta? Because something always seems to be changing.
There are 2 times I can think of when we've had what could be sort of referred to as like a solved meta. The first was when standby sharing was legal and arcs were out.
Are you sure? Yeah, it felt pretty salty.
Yeah, and the second and even this is arguable, is during the Tauntaun meta.
Mm-hmm.
But the reason I say arguable is because there were 2 significant tournaments won during that time period by Palpatine.
Yep.
Now, Palpatine is explicitly a Tauntaun counter, but clearly good enough to beat other lists too. So I don't know. Those are the 2 times I can think of. Yeah. But notably, one of those times is not now. So I don't know. Yeah. Anyway, seems kind of unlikely based on what they said that we'll get anything before that. The fact that they announced that date as the 21st is making me anxious. It's making me want to like paint all of the things that I own in the next 10 days.
That's not necessarily a horrible thing.
No, but that's not a bad thing, because it gives me motivation to do that. But
it's not just painting, because like, let's say you're one of those people, it's too late. You've already packed. So unless you're going to pack your entire faction, what are you going to do?
Yeah. And I'm one of the lucky ones that I'm not leaving till Friday.
Right.
That said, I am taking my kids with me, not all the way to San Diego. But I got to pack for them too. So right. if I could pack my Legion stuff before Thursday, that'd be ideal.
But I think it's like we just talked about like what could happen to your list. Like, we're not even taking into account what's going to happen to other people's lists for you to be prepared for.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
I mean, like in a world where that happens, I mean, this is like less of the organizers don't have as much control over it, but there's a world where like you get off the plane and you don't know that points changes or whatever like actually happened, and you get there and your opponent's like, yeah, so my Vader does this now. Right.
Yeah. Like, right. Exactly.
Right? And
or you turn in your list and the TO is like, this is 820 points.
Right. Yeah.
You're gonna need to remove a unit.
It's like
Yeah. We ran an event from someone who's run an event before. Just like the likelihood of that even happening like is making me nervous as an
Well,
event
exactly,
organizer.
yeah.
Like I'm like, why would you take that on? Like just like no, everything's frozen 12 days before. So now I have almost 2 weeks to like be set, have my judges be ready, everybody's set, nothing's gonna change, we're good.
Yeah, imagine the judges being like, I mean, what if there's a bunch of like rules clarifications and changes and stuff in that thing that the judges have to read up on in 24 hours?
What if there's something we don't know, right? You don't know what you don't know. What if there's something that significantly would impact how you set up tables? Not that that would happen, right? But I mean, maybe.
Yeah, who knows?
There's a
Speaking
lot
of,
of question marks.
Yeah.
I hope that the red player thing does not impact how people set up tables. Because I could see like, you know, right now, generally speaking, TOs try and make balanced tables.
Yep.
And inevitably they fail. And this is
Yep.
as someone who's designed a lot of maps. If you try and make a balanced map, you will fail. One of the sides is going to be better. My worry is that TOs are like, oh, they want to give red player the specific advantage. Let's make one side of this table better.
Yeah.
Because if you do that, not only is it going to be better, it's going to be a lot better.
I could see that happening.
I know that's my other big fear with this red player
Yeah.
table change thing.
Oh, maybe you just shouldn't bid, Kyle.
Yeah. Kyle, just stop bidding.
Problem
I mean,
solved.
if that happens, then I.
All right, let's go home, boys. We got them.
I mean, I'm playing Republic for Invader Elims, so maybe I just won't bid.
Are we getting into that now?
Yeah, I mean that's our last topic on the thing here, right?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, I couldn't decide what I wanted to do, so I flipped a coin for it, 2 coins technically, to get to Republic. So yeah, I'm playing Republic for Elims.
Congratulations, everybody. Kyle has navigated to the best faction yet again.
Yeah,
Mr. The flipper himself.
Guns for hire, freaking mercenaries. You guys are. It's just...
I've only ever played 2 factions, just to be clear.
There was an equal chance of getting Empire as there was Republic in that flip. I put all 4 factions on the table.
So this will be you. Once you do this, you've officially competitively played every faction.
Yep.
Interesting.
Accurate.
Do you feel dirty? Because
I mean, I might if I end up playing Rexstar.
Yeah.
But then again, I haven't done it yet. So like maybe it's like, you know, I don't know.
I don't think Rexstar is going to make anybody feel dirty these days.
No, well, that's the other thing is it's not like playing standby sharing Rexstar. Or even like pre-bus Rexstar.
I think you should just try to get as many of those vehicles in your list as possible and just see what happens.
the GAR vehicles.
Yeah.
Well, that's why this is a little more interesting, and I'm not sad about it. And why I was okay putting Republic on the table is it seems like the Kashyyyk wave is going to be legal. So like, you know, I could do a list with ISPs. I could do a list with Yoda. I could do a list with Wookiees.
Yeah.
Could do a list with Wookiees and Rex. Wookiee Star. Wookiee Rex Star. I don't know. It seems like actually there's a lot of options. So
there's more.
Yeah, I think the existing options that are bad, I think, are still bad.
I think you should play a lat and drop Wookiees off with the lat.
No, I'm not doing that.
I think that's what you should do.
Not doing that, Jay. Yeah, so I don't know, could be fun. We'll see.
Yeah.
It'll be I guess I can check that box, Jay. The achievement unlocked, played every faction.
You and I have very different definitions of fun, but yeah. Sounds like it's gonna be fun for you.
Well, and I'll be going in cold with this one, just like I did with Empire in season 3. So
yeah, that worked out real bad for you.
Yeah, that was a rough season.
Yeah. The only season I won, for those that are not familiar.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Congrats.
I'm excited. I'm excited for a reason to play Republic, which I have not done yet in a tournament capacity.
Yeah.
So clearly have played like random games with them, but not in a tournament. So
he's getting in the Lamborghini, everybody.
We'll see if it's still a Lamborghini in 2 weeks.
It's definitely less of a Lamborghini than it used to be.
Hopefully, I'm not getting in a moped because I'm locked into it. So.
They're like, we nerf standby all the points, and so your phase 2s are now 130 points a unit, and you can only have 6 activations, and you can only share 1 token. So
That sounds like exactly what it was supposed to be.
And Republic Wookiees for some reason are 10 more points than Rebel Wookiees. Yeah.
Well,
no,
because they were in their prime back then.
yeah, right. Yeah. Anyway, I'll be waffling on that, but less so because at least I've narrowed down to faction. So
Perfect.
Yeah, I was not trying to be a diva. It was literally like I cannot decide what to play. I need to narrow this focus down somehow. So
we flipped a coin.
Yep.
The thing that I don't get is he's okay with flipping a coin for what faction he plays, but he's not okay with flipping a coin for blue or red player. Like, what's up with that?
Very different, Mike. Completely different.
Is it?
Yeah, because every faction has a list that I'm interested in. I'm not interested in playing red player.
Maybe we're getting to the root of it. Are you bad at playing as red player?
I am bad at playing as red player, Mike.
And there it is. Well, hey everybody, if you want to know how to beat Kyle, just outbid him until bidding doesn't matter.
Most of my losses are me as red player.
Or were you? I say that's fair. Both your losses to me last season were either bid related or battle deck related.
I think I was blue player in both those games though. No, I was not in the first one. I was definitely not in the first one.
We had hostage exchange. I was playing Anakin.
You're right. That was 100% a blue red player situation.
Yeah. And I think the second loss was definitely like you were blue on sabotage, but it didn't really matter.
I picked the wrong objective in that one.
Yeah. You know, you did not utilize the blue player advantage.
Correct. But
so why did you even have it?
Exactly.
I was red player for the Atlantic City final. So
there you go.
There's one important win as red player, I guess.
How important? What was on the line, Kyle?
It was a revenge game against Luke Cook, Jay. Almost exactly 2 years after the World Championships. That was an important game for me, for my personal
He's
pride.
past his prime.
Oof.
Dude,
Yeah,
I do have a lot more gray hair than I did when I started playing Legion.
Don't worry, I'm setting that up with him. We're all gonna be at a tournament in November, so I'm sure that's gonna come back to bite me.
Are we in November?
No, I mean me and Luke. We've got one
Okay.
November 6th up here in New York.
Okay, that should be fun.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's literally like right after I'm gonna leave.
Oh,
Yeah. That's why we timed it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Mhm.
They're like they all want to have a chance at winning, so let's wait until Mike leaves.
Hey Jay, when's Mike leaving? Yeah, let's do the tournament that weekend.
Yeah, that's how it went.
Yep. Well, you guys got any final thoughts?
I don't know what I'm gonna name this episode. I can't name it
Kyle hates
Exchange Waiting Room again, because that's what the last
You
one
should
was
call
called.
it Seeing Red, a Kyle Dornbos story.
What's the thing like further out from the rating room? Parking lot?
Sure. We
Because we are further out than we thought we were before.
Yeah, totally.
So-
We could be in the parking lot.
We thought we had our hand on the door, but reality, we're around the block.
Yeah. It's really more like one of those things where you get a number and then you have to go wait in your car.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're not even like in the waiting room. You're just waiting in your car.
That's
Yeah,
more
we-
common these days.
I know, which is actually really convenient for me personally because I have kids that I have to get out of car seats if I want to go inside things. So,
Yeah, there you go.
but yeah, points change parking lot.
Points change parking lot. I think we can. That sounds like a great title. Ace
Except for
point.
no one will get it until the end of this episode.
I think that's okay.
You're
I think
welcome, everyone.
Okay.
Could also be used as an analogy for being stuck in traffic. Parking lot.
Mhm.
All right. Well, we're the Notorious Scoundrels. I'm Kyle.
Mike.
I'm Jay.
Stay fresh, cheese bags.